first thing that to me was super weird was that he's always wearing shirts all the time.
Yeah, even for our first date, we were going to a fairly nice place for lunch, and I put on what I thought was a nice pair of shorts and a collared shirt, and for me, that was dressing up.
So something that was so shocking to me was I was like thinking like 2 days before our date what I was going to wear. So I tried on like 3 different dresses and find a pair of heels and everything. So when I went out and he picked me up, he was like wearing and shirts, and I was like, I don't understand, because we're supposed to go to a very fancy restaurant for lunch, so why are you wearing shirts? And that was something so normal for him, but for me it was like, oh, maybe I should dress like more casual or something.
But I had a big bouquet of flowers to make up for it.
Yes.
After we had been dating for a little bit, I committed a major cultural faux pas. And in the US, after you're dating for a little while and things are starting to feel like you're getting serious with someone, instead of like asking them to be your boyfriend or be your girlfriend or something like that, you kind of have the "are we exclusive" talk. And if you both agree that you're exclusive, well then at that point, you're boyfriend and girlfriend. So that's what I did with I'm like, hey, I consider us exclusive, but you feel the same, right? We're exclusive?
But here it's completely different, because I understood that in the US you can date many people at the same time, and here that's not common. So we were dating for a few weeks, and I just remember that he was trying to hold my hands and kiss me, and I was like, no, that's not correct, because we are not in a relationship. And actually he asked me, we are exclusive, right? And I was like, yeah, because for me, like dating, even when you're not like a boyfriend or girlfriend, you are exclusive, because you just date a person, and if it doesn't work, then you date another one. But
and being exclusive does not mean that you're boyfriend, girlfriend.
Exactly. So when he asked me, are we exclusive? I was like, yeah, sure, because I'm not dating anyone else. But he was like, that's why he was trying to kiss me and hold my hands and things like that. But I didn't knew that meant like becoming boyfriend and girlfriend. So
at what point did you realize that we were boyfriend and girlfriend?
I asked you. I was like, okay, we're exclusive, but I mean, I think we are not understanding each other like pretty well, because for me it was confusing. And then he asked me like, well, I consider you're my girlfriend. Do you consider me your boyfriend? And I was like, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't prepared to like
answer that question
because I was expecting him to ask me like, do you want to be my girlfriend, or prepare like a very fancy dinner with flowers and things like that. And that was one of our most common dates, like, you know, like just walking in the park, having ice cream. And when he told me that, yeah, I'm considering you my girlfriend, I was like, why? I didn't tell you I wanted to be your girlfriend.
That's not how I remember it.
Yeah, but I stood talking, and I was like, okay, what I'm gonna say, because if I said yes, I didn't expect that, but if I say no, maybe I'm going to regret. I was in shock. I didn't expect that, but in the end I said like, okay, let's give it a try. We were having such a good time together, so maybe we should try.
But what I'm supposed to do here is I'm supposed to ask her if she wants to be my girlfriend. But before I do that, I'm supposed to like bring her out to a nice fancy dinner and have flowers and things like that. And at that point, that's when I ask. I did not do that.
Another weird thing he did was like saying I love you and like translating that or giving that meaning of te amo. And I remember that we were on our early stages of our relationship, and we were like having such a good time, and I told him I love you, and he was so shocked because I told him I love you, and we were like,
it was early.
It was too early. But after that I was like, oh, I'm telling you te quiero because I really feel it. And he was like, no, but for me that means te amo. And I was like, why can you tell me te amo if we just met? And it was so weird to me because I couldn't find any like a way to say it in English like te quiero, and I didn't know if he would understand like me saying that to him. So
I would have, by the way.
It was so shocking, like to say, okay, I love you too, and I was like, why?
But yeah, here there's a few stages. Like you'll start dating, and then you might say te quiero, meaning like, I really like you. Or te quiero mucho would be the next step after that. And then finally you would say te amo. But for me to just straight up say te amo was really weird for her, but she had already told me that she loves me, so I thought me saying te amo was the same thing.
So it was a very awkward misunderstanding because I said like te amo to him because I was referring to te quiero mucho because I really had those feelings for him, but he said, okay, I didn't expect it to say this like this early, but I really love you. And I was like, okay, I think we are not understanding each other. What are you meaning? What's your meaning for I love you? And he said te amo, and I was like, no way. Wait a minute. We just met. But
And then she's like, te amo también.
yeah, and I said like, okay, maybe if I'm thinking about that, maybe I love you, and it's okay. So, but at the beginning it was a real bit confusing.
I would ask Mai out on a date, and I'd be like, hey, do you want to get lunch at 1 p.m. at this restaurant? And then she'd be like, sure. But
Yeah, so one of the main differences, and that's one that I honestly, it was harder for me to get used to, is the difference of the hour they're having meals. So, for example, he was used to have lunch at 1 p.m. And for me, having lunch means like eating something around 3 or 4 p.m. So when we first started dating, for example, at weekends, he was like, okay, maybe we should have lunch together. But my breakfast was around like 8 to 10 a.m. in the morning, especially on weekends. So when we met for lunch, I didn't was hungry, so I was just eating a little bit, or just salad, or just having something to eat. Or it was like several times that we went on a restaurant and I was not hungry at all, so he had to eat alone. And after that, I had to come back and order Uber Eats or something because
I didn't
honestly,
know you
I
were
was
doing
not-
this.
I was not hungry at all.
I didn't know until now, the making of this video, that you were going back home and ordering Uber Eats later. But yeah, the times we eat are way different. Like, I'm used to eating lunch at noon or 1, and like she said, 3 or 4. And then for me, dinner time is 5 or 6 p.m. And for you, what is it, 8?
It's like
9
8,
p.m.?
9 p.m. And it was like totally different. And when we were having lunch, he was already hungry and I was not hungry. And yeah, in the end, we had to get used to each other. Like eating something lighter for breakfast or waiting a little bit more for dinner. But at the beginning, it was such a mess because I was not hungry at all by the time he wanted to eat lunch or dinner.
So now I feel like we've kind of unintentionally compromised on this. Like, maybe we'll have lunch at 2 instead of noon or 4.
Yeah.
And then maybe we'll have dinner at
7:30 or something like that instead of 8 and 9. But we have to be trying to find balance between what he was used to and what I was used to, and now it's working perfectly. But at the beginning it was chaotic,
And you said that
it
was super weird for
confusing
you.
me, yeah. Another of our most shocking, or at least for me, differences was like the difference meaning of limon, like for both of us. So I just remember that once we ordered tacos for dinner, and the limones that they sent us were like completely dry and not useful. So I asked him like, do you have limones? And he was, do you have a lemon? And I was expecting to have one of these. So I went to the kitchen and opened the fridge, and I was looking but never find limones. And I asked him like, hey, you told me you had limones, where are they?
I have lemons. I have these. So then I cut this up and I proceed to put this, the juice of this, on my taco. And apparently this is something you don't do here.
I mean, I almost fainted because for me this is not acceptable. At least under my experience, this is only used for like making lemonade or used at desserts. So I was trying to use this one because this is a little bit sweet and this one is not. So when he started putting this kind of lemon in his tacos, I was like, what's going on? I mean, that's
almost
a crime.
So for me, I actually usually prefer the flavor of a lemon over the flavor of a lime. But then, after her almost fainting for me putting a yellow lemon juice on my taco. Then I proceed to put bottled salsa on my taco.
And I died. I mean, who uses bottled salsa when you're having fresh salsa in your table?
Yeah, like from the taqueria, they send all these like fresh salsas for you to choose from. You might have 5 different fresh salsas that you could put on it. So when I put bottled salsa on it, she was freaking out.
At the first time, I mean, it was like one of our very first dinner together, and he was putting like lime, like that yellow lemon, and bottled salsa in his tacos at the same time. And I was like, what I'm doing here? Maybe we should break up. Not that serious, but I was like, I cannot stand this. Maybe I should start doing some homemade salsa or something like that, because this salsa for me, it's not acceptable. Just like for chips and things like that, it's okay, but not for tacos.
And one day, Mai was telling me there's a few things that you'll find in every Mexican's refrigerator. And in my refrigerator, there were none of them. One of those things is limones. Another one of those things is tortillas.
Corn tortillas, flour tortillas. The other one is beer. You have to always have beer in your fridge. It's super necessary. And the other one is like a freshly homemade salsa, not that trashy salsa. So actually it's good, but not for tacos.
So then after she was about to kill me for putting lemon juice and bottled salsa on my tacos, then I finish with my meal and I proceed to give the leftover tortillas and meat on the ground for Laska on my plate that I was eating off of.
And yeah, that was one of the huge differences, because here we don't do that. That's not acceptable. Our pets have their own plates and they only eat there, but at this time he gave that food to Laska on the same plate we were having dinner, and it was like, no way, you really want to kill me. I mean, that's not acceptable at all.
And I was like, I'll wash it, don't worry about it. And she's like, that needs to go in the garbage.
Yeah, so
that is never for human consumption again. No humans can ever eat off that plate again.
And for him was acceptable, but for me it was not. So I was like, okay, let's make a deal. You're gonna buy some plates and everything for me, and nobody's going to use it. Nobody, not even Laska. So we didn't do that. So I have to get used to the fact that Laska is going to share the same dishes we are eating on.
Remember those little bowls that we got at Costco in a recent video?
Yes, you use it for Laska.
Well, okay. So the other day for breakfast, I had some I had some yogurt, and I put some chia seeds in there, some hemp hearts, and then I ate it as much as I could, of course. But Laska likes yogurt, so there was a little bit left in there, and I put that on the ground. And she licked it clean.
Okay. Let's keep going. Another thing that really surprised me was the fact that when we first arrived home, he always take off his shoes at the entrance of the house. So I really knew that Asians do this, but I'd never imagined that he would do that. So I was like, what's wrong with your shoes? What are you taking off? Like at the entrance of the house, I didn't understood, and I really felt guilty because I already like went into the house, but I was wearing mine. So I was like, should I like go back and take it off, or it's acceptable? What's going on?
Yeah, for me, it's easier to keep the floors clean if I take my shoes off at the entrance and then just walk around the house with socks. And also, I definitely prefer not wearing shoes on the rugs that I have around the house, because those are harder to clean, and I definitely prefer to walk on those with socks on. But apparently that's not what Mexicans do. Mexican families, just everyone keeps their shoes on. If you have other Mexicans over to your house for a party or for dinner or something, everyone wears their shoes into the house the whole time they're there.
Talking about shoes, something that really shocked me was the fact that he didn't use sandals to take a shower. It was so weird for me because he was not wearing sandals or shoes inside of the house at all, and I'm always wearing shoes and sandals when I'm taking a shower or going to the bathroom or whatever. So something for me was like so hard to deal with, or something that I think it's just part of Mexican culture, is that our grandmothers and mothers used to say constantly when we are kids that we are going to get a flu or get sick if we are walking inside of the house without any shoes. So that's maybe something that maybe say like you are going to get a flu and you are going to get sick, or you are going to like sleep in the shower, and of course that's not going to happen. That's a huge myth. But at the very beginning I was like, can we go somewhere to the grocery store or things like that so I can have some sandals or flip-flops or whatever to be in a shower? And he was like, no, it's not necessary. And yeah, I understood it's not necessary, but we have to get used to that.
Yeah, I've never worn sandals in the shower my whole life, with the exception of when I was in college and there were a whole bunch of people sharing that same shower. For that time, I did do that. However, the rest of my life, I haven't. But something we do have in a lot of homes in the US is in the shower, you'll have like a rubber mat to stand on to make sure you don't slip. But also, I don't have that either.
Yeah, and here in Mexico we have both. I mean, the mat and also sandals. And we have like a very specific pair of sandals that we only use when we're going to take a shower.
And for you, me not wearing sandals in the shower was super strange.
Yeah, it's like he wants to heal himself or what's going on, because that's a very risky behavior. But of course it's not. He's used to do that. But for me, I got so stressed every time he was going to take a shower without sandals, and I was like, are you okay? Are you okay? And he, of course, he was okay. But for me, it was a little bit stressful at the very beginning.
I don't know if Mai thinks this is weird, but something a Mexican has told me is that men ordering margaritas at a bar or a restaurant is really weird, because that's not something men order.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, nowadays it's more common, but talking about Mexican or my Mexican friends, most of them, they don't order cocktails or margaritas when they are having lunch or when they are in a bar.
Your male friends, right?
Yeah, my male friends. They usually order beer, for example, or wine, but not margaritas. So I remember that sometime, I don't remember who, but said something like, oh no, cocktails and margaritas are just for women. And honestly, that's an idea that some people still have here, which I don't think which I think it doesn't make sense. But for me, yeah, it was weird that one of the first time we went together, he was looking at the cocktails menu, and I was like, okay. I mean, it shocked me a little bit, but it's like, yeah, he can enjoy cocktail. And now it's okay for me because we can share our cocktails, and that's pretty good for me, but it was a little bit weird at the beginning.
And you mentioned that it's common for guys to order beer or wine, but I'll add a third one to that. It's also common for them to order like a tequila or a whiskey or some other kind of hard alcohol like that.
Yeah, but not mixed with fruits or sugar and things like that. It's like all straight, just tequila, just mezcal, just beer, but not mixed with anything else, and not having like very beautiful, nice colors and anything like that.
After I graduated high school, when I was 18 years old, I moved out of my parents' house, and as a matter of fact, I moved across the country from Minnesota to Arizona, and that's something that Mai thought was pretty weird.
Yeah, because here that's not normal. I mean, that's not common. I'm 31 and I still live with my parents, and that's perfectly okay. They will never like take you out of home because you already graduated or because I'm having my own business. So we move out of our parents' home like when we have like economic stability or when we get married, but not before. So when he asked me, are you still living with your parents? I was like, yes, why? But for me it was so weird because I didn't understood why he was asking me that. It for me was completely normal, and I thought that he was going to knew that I was still living with my parents. But he explained me that they usually go out of their parents' house so in a very early age. So that's why.
Yeah, and just for clarity, I was not judging you when I was asking that. I was just curious.
Yeah, I've never felt judged, but for me it was weird because yeah, we have a very strong and close relationship with our parents, so it's not normal like to get out. And I'm not saying that you don't have that relationship with your parents, but here it's completely normal to keep living at like elderly ages with them. So that's one of the main differences between us.
That's a big difference with culture in Mexico and in the United States, is that different generations of family will live together a lot more frequently here than in the US.
And something that's so weird, it's for example when I've been to the US with my parents or with my family, we are all together. We go all together to a mall and we're like sharing our opinions, or we're making decisions, or we're going to have lunch, and everybody's looking at us like, what are all that guys doing together? Because for us it's completely normal to go on vacations with our parents, and in the US it's not. So maybe now I understood, or when I met him I understood why people like look at us like so weird when we are all together in the US, and I perfectly understand that. That's why.
We'll go out for breakfast here in Querétaro, and I might order a cinnamon roll, but when I order the cinnamon roll I ask them to heat it up and for them to bring butter on the side. And then like if I order pancakes or waffles, I'll put butter on those. If there's bread, if there's pieces of bread that come with my meal, I'll put butter on that. And that's perfectly normal to me. Like, to me, that makes all those things taste way better.
But for me it was so shocking, and I'm not saying that it's in general like with all Mexican, it's just under my perspective, but it was so weird that he wanted to add butter to everything, like literally everything. And I was
Literally.
we ordered, like we went on breakfast and he was with his pancakes and add like a huge amount of butter on it, and I was like, what are you doing? And cinnamon roll, butter, pancakes, butter, everything butter, tacos, butter. No, but
Tacos.
he wanted to add butter everywhere. And when I arrived here to the fridge, I saw like a very huge bar of butter.
Oh yeah, I'll
And
get
I
the
was
big package from Costco.
Yeah, and I was like, why are you buying that huge butter bar if you are living all alone? And he was like, yeah, because I use it. And I was like, come on, that's unhealthy. I was so shocked because for me that's not acceptable. I mean, we can use a little bit of butter when we are cooking, and when we are putting like a very small amount of it at our pancakes, but we are not like having our sweet bread with butter and everything with butter. So I was like, slow down, guy. We're not going to eat butter in this house.
Your elbow in my neck. But something you did tell me that was perfectly normal here is like you might put jelly like mermelada or cajeta, like what's cajeta translated
It's
to?
like a
caramel type thing.
Yeah, something like caramel. So when we're having pancakes or waffles or whatever, we like put over it like mermelada, which is like a kind of jelly, and cajeta, which is like dulce de leche or caramel, something like that. But he was like, okay, it already had like a lot of sugar in it, and you're adding butter and more sugar, and he stands to it a lot of sweet things. And I'm always like, why are you eating such a lot of sugar? And for him it's perfectly normal. And sometimes we go out, and sometimes they give us outside of a restaurant a small piece of chocolate, so he bite it and it was like, oh, it's not sweet for me, and he gave it to me, and I was like, come on, this is so sweet. And he was like, no, it's not sweet at all, here you have. So
And on that topic, something else you thought was weird is that when we went out for breakfast and I ordered like pancakes and bacon and eggs and hash browns, and they're all on the same plate, and I'm like putting maple syrup on my pancakes. You thought that was really weird for some reason, and I don't understand
because,
why.
I mean, it was so weird to me because he was like, in the same plate, he had like eggs and pancakes and bacon and hash browns, like it was potatoes. And he was like eating a small piece of pancakes, and at the same time, he was having bacon. And I was like, what are you doing? I mean, we like usually have like our salty breakfast or sweet breakfast, or you have like a small plate of, I don't know, chilaquiles, and if you want after that you order pancakes, or you have like a small piece of a slice of French toast or toast bread, and you just put something sweet on it.
But you wouldn't
never together. So it was like, what are you doing? Why are you eating eggs with jelly or eggs with butter, things like that? It was like.
I don't combine those two, but I might take a bite of one thing sweet and then a bite of one thing salty.
But in the end, you combine it inside of your mouth, and for me it was like, why? Why you can take you can have both, but in a certain order, and you didn't care at all. So it was so weird to me. Another thing that was really weird to me is that they don't do sobremesa, or that's what we call sobremesa, which basically means that when we are having lunch or breakfast or whatever, we take a little time to talk with our friends, family, or whatever, and we can stay there like for hours, like a couple of hours after we have lunch or after we have a meal. So at the very beginning it was like so confusing to me, and I thought he was mad with me or something, because we were like going to a restaurant, and just after we stopped eating he was already ordering the check, and I was like, we are not going to talk, we are not going to enjoy the restaurant? And he was like, no, that's not necessary. And the same happened when we were having lunch or breakfast or whatever at home. I was like, we were eating, and just immediately he was like just standing up the table and taking everything on it, and I was like, come on, are you mad at me? I did something wrong. Why are you not sitting there with me, like just enjoying the time together?
But for me, like when we're done eating at home, I just want to get the table cleaned up, and then we can enjoy some time together after everything is cleaned, and then we can come over here to the living room and sit on a more comfortable sofa and not have to sit at the less comfortable dining table.
Yeah, and that was something that made me like get a little bit shocked, because when I saw his like lunch table, dining table, for me it seems like a very uncomfortable like furniture. But then I understood that he never stays there. If he wants to talk, or if he wants to take a good time, he goes to the living room, or he goes anything else. But for me, like having a very comfy like furniture to take lunch, it's pretty important. But he doesn't give a damn. So it was like, okay, we can like do sobremesa, which is not sobremesa at all, in the living room or something else, somewhere else. But that's something that really shocked me at the very beginning.
So we went to Costco shopping for something like a waffle maker, and Mai wasn't sure if she wanted it, and I was like, hey, let's just get it, and if we don't like it or we decide we want a different one or whatever, we'll just return it. And she thought it was really weird that I was suggesting to return something to a store. And for me, growing up in the US, that's perfectly normal to like return something if you change your mind later, if you don't like it or whatever.
But here, that's not normal or common at all. If we buy something or if we want something, we go straight to the store, we check it out, we try it on, if it's like clothes or shoes or whatever, and if we like it, we take it. If we don't like it, we leave it. And nowadays, if we're buying something online and we don't like it, we usually do two things. I mean, we keep it and then sell it with our friends or family, and or just don't use it. And yeah, we are not used to like return things unless that, for example, is a gift and like it doesn't fit you, then you go to the store and like return it and give like your correct size or something. But like a part of that, it's not usual and it's not common to return things like under any circumstance. So why?
And like a while back, I was shopping for furniture at one of the big furniture stores here in Querétaro, and before finalizing the purchase, I asked the salesperson what their return policy is, and he looked at me like I was crazy.
But that's why. I mean, we don't return things, especially like huge things. If we don't do it with the small things, we don't do it with furniture. You go straight to the store, you check it out, and if you like it, you return it. Because we think that's much more easy. But for him, it's easier to return it back. So it's like, okay, it's just a different point of view. I've never get used to it. I mean, I prefer to go to the store and check it out, and he's now accompanying me, and he wants to order online and return thing. It's like, okay, I'm done with that. You can do it, but for me it's just a waste of time. So it's just a difference of perspective.
Yeah, like I went online on Nike Mexico and bought a few pairs of shoes with the full intention of returning like half of them, and I am. And she thought that was really weird that I'm returning them. But there's a pair that doesn't fit me, like they're too small. There's another pair that just isn't comfortable. So yeah, I'm just gonna send some of those back and get my money back. On our last live stream, someone suggested that we do the tortilla challenge, so that's what we're going to do today. If you haven't seen it, it's all over TikTok and Instagram, but we both put water in our mouth and then we play rock, paper, scissors, and whoever loses the rock, paper, scissors gets slapped with a tortilla, and whoever spits the water out of their mouth first loses. You ready?
No.
Whatever happens, I love you.
I cannot hold. I'm gonna drink it. I told you I was going to hurt him.
What do you say, 2 out of 3?
Yeah.
I don't know that language. Okay.
No. You.
I lost. I lost twice. Okay. You can spit that out now or swallow it.
We just wanna say that we still love each other, and that no tortilla was harm
In the production.
of this process. So if you really like this video, please subscribe and share it with your friends.
And click on this playlist of all the videos that Mai and I have made together.
Yeah.
Do you want to feed the birds with this or make a quesadilla out of it? Oh, gringa.
Gringa.